Welcome back, everybody. Blake Cousins, this is Third Phase Moon, and we're broadcasting live, and we've got a special guest. He served in the military combat unit, and he, between 2003 and 2006, as an active duty Army member, he spent almost a year in Baghdad, and he's basically made contact with Third Phase Moon because we want to share his story. He says that he possibly has the most absolute, interesting, true account of a face-to-face extraterrestrial. Now, we invited Scott to join us, and this is going to be a wild ride. I got a feeling we haven't spoken to Scott yet, but we're about to right now. So everybody, hit that thumbs up, that like button for exclusive, incredible, true accounts of extraterrestrial contact, and don't forget to subscribe as well. Now, let's bring in Scott. Scott, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here, Blake. Can you hear me?
All right. Yeah, got you loud and clear. Well, welcome to Third Phase of Moon. Appreciate you joining us and making contact. We love former military personnel on the show. It gives credence to one story, absolutely. Let's just start from the beginning. Give us a little history about yourself, and let's get into this true account of a extraterrestrial basic contact.
Absolutely, Blake. Like you said, I spent November 2003 to November 2006 in the military. I was part of Special Combat Hospital Unit, and I got out of the military in 2006, and I returned home to where I live in Chicago. And, I got a job, met a girl, settled down, what most people do at that age. And 2012, moved out to a suburb of Illinois, about 15 minutes west of Chicago, Illinois. And I moved into a townhouse there, and had an upstairs, downstairs, basement, front yard, backyard, the American dream. And I've been living there for about 3 months, Blake, and I had no problems, never heard any strange noises, never had any type of encounters. As a matter of fact, before, April 2012, I actually had never believed in anything supernatural, anything paranormal, anything to do with any type of space or encounters of any kind. I actually used to laugh at stuff like that, but all of that changed, and changed really quick for me. One night of April of 2012, like I said, I had an upstairs, downstairs, and the basement, Blake, and most nights I used to sleep on the ground floor of the townhome, and where I could see the front doors and the back doors. And I'm a big advocate of self-defense, Blake. I always have to have some sort of protection, especially at night, just in case of some sort of intruder or burglar or any other uninvited guest that may happen to come by. But this particular night, I got home about 11:45, 12 a.m. to my home, and as I got comfortable, I sat on the couch and watched a little TV for about 30, 45 minutes until I fell asleep. And I put my TV on a sleep timer this particular night, and for some strange reason, I woke up in darkness. It must have been about 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then, I kind of went in and out of sleep. But about 4:45 a.m., I just had a strange feeling that woke me up out of my sleep. And I stood up and checked my phone first to see what time it was. I noticed that it was nearly 5 o'clock. And, I looked to my left as I sat on my couch, and I saw a very small but pretty bright flash of yellow light coming through my blinds that connected to my patio door that went out to my backyard, where I had a fence there that enclosed my property. But, I looked over at first. I didn't think anything of it. But just a few seconds, it happened again, except the light that flashed, it changed colors. It was a white light, and it was much brighter. And, at that point, I got a little kind of disturbed. And the first thing I did, especially being that time of night, was I picked up my weapon, which at that time was a .380 caliber silver handgun that I used for, personal defense that I always keep inside my home. So as I walked to the window, which is my patio door, I looked through the blinds, and on top of the roof, about 60 feet across the parking lot, there was another townhouse, and on top of that townhouse, there was a bright yellow orb and it couldn't have been more than 4 to 6 feet in diameter, and it was sitting on top of the townhouse directly across from where I was looking out of the window at. And it flashed, and it tripled in size, and it turned red as it flashed, and still stayed a perfect orb, even though it tripled in size. And it changed in seconds, and that had been maybe 2 to 3 seconds. And as I watched it, I started to hear a noise that sounded kind of like a helicopter that was approaching, but it wasn't that loud at first. It would get louder and louder, every second that passed. But as I sat there and watched this orb for a few seconds, I was completely stunned. But what happened next was, something I never expected. Something came out of the orb, and it would have had to have been the size of a grown man, maybe at least 6 to 7 feet at this, at the smallest. Could have been a couple of feet, taller than that, but I think it had to have been 6 or 7 feet. And as it came out of the portal, I'd have to say what I saw, it wasn't that far away from me. It was 60 feet. So it looked like a combination between a praying mantis and a snake, or should I say a dragonfly and a snake would be the best way to describe it. And as it came out of the portal, it shot straight up into the air. And within not even 5 seconds, it moved so fast, I couldn't see any way that it would propel itself, no kind of, engines or no kind of, wings at first. But within seconds, Blake, it flew directly into my backyard, over my fence, and it stopped directly in front of me where I stood at my patio door. And it was in an upright position, hovering about 6 feet off the ground, and I could see all the details, and I could see everything. And I looked at it from bottom to top. I kind of had my mouth dropped when I saw this thing. And when I looked at the head of it, I could see that it had kind of outlying large black eyes and a very small head. It looked not similar at all to what people would describe as a gray alien. I've done some research on gray aliens, and I know that that's not what it was. But what I saw up close was definitely something that looked like a dragonfly that was a cross between that and a snake. But when I got a little closer, as I stood there and I watched it, I realized that it wasn't only just a biological being, that it was also a biomechanical being, because I could see several small symbols on it. And it's something that I've never seen before. It's the language that I didn't recognize. I'm not sure if it was a language that was from this earth, but as I stood there and I watched it, I was, pretty afraid at this point, because it was only 3 to 5 feet away from me. And it just sat there in midair, I looking at it and it looking at me. And the first thing I did out of fear was I had my Silver 380 in my hand. I didn't point it at the entity. I pressed it against the window and right above my head, as to show that I was armed. And as soon as I had done this, Blake, it spread what looked like to me 2 sets of wings from each side of its body. The wings, which I think were wings, were no longer than 3 to 5 feet. Yeah, they were no more than 3 to 5 feet in length. And as soon as the wings were spread, I could see what looked like hundreds of tiny electrical lightning bolts that came from the top and bottoms and all. It basically engulfed the entire being. They were like no larger than my pinky finger, each one of them, but they looked like residual, traces of energy, as if someone were to, stick something in a power outlet, there'd be a blue flash shoot out. But basically, these tiny lightning bolts engulfed the entire being, and it did that for a few seconds, as I stared at it. And the only thing I could think of at that point, when I thought about it later on in life, that it must have done that as a reaction to, maybe it was some sort of defense field that I think it was putting up to protect itself, in case I had, fired upon it, or, decided to, do something aggressive towards this being. But I didn't. The only thing I could feel at that time, I actually lowered the weapon. And only thing I could think when I saw that was that it was beautiful. I'd never seen anything like that in my life. And till this day, I still haven't seen anything like that since. And, it after I dropped my arm, I guess the protective barrier that it put around itself, it immediately, the lightning bolt stopped, and then it shot straight up in the air over my home, and that was it. I never saw it again after that. And
Well,
till this
this is
day, I
quite
still.
incredible. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Tell you what. Tell you what. How about we do this? Let's just take a quick break, and I'm sure there's people that have questions for Scott in regards to this. Wow, incredible encounter. Not quite an Ellen Gray. What do you make of it, people? I want to get you guys' opinions. A praying mantis snake kind of creature, but then maybe a possible robotic as well. Some kind of cyborg creature, hybrid, chimera. I'm not exactly sure, but let's just take a quick break. If anybody's got questions for Scott, call in at 347-934-0378. Just press number 1 if you've got a question for Scott after you call in. We'll be right back. Third Phase of Moon. All right, welcome back, everybody. Third Phase Moon, Blake Cousins here. We're speaking with Scott, who's just shared to us an incredible encounter. I've got a question for Scott right away because, in my opinion, there's always some kind of maybe reason or some kind of communication that is going on in regards to an extraterrestrial contact. Did you feel any kind of a telepathic message? Any reason why they were there that evening, and why? Or did you feel threatened in any way? You had that pistol, and for some reason you didn't use it.
Well, the truth is, Blake, at the time when it was just sitting there 3 to 5 feet away from me, I didn't get any message, and I didn't feel any telepathic communication. But the funny thing is, right before I started watching TV, before I went to sleep, I have a laptop computer. And on my laptop computer, it was just kind of strange that this happens on the same night. I happened to be scrolling through YouTube, and I happened to follow upon some research by a gentleman by the name of, I think he's passed away now, but I think his name was Zachariah Sitchin, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And I was listening to one of his speeches that particular night before I started watching TV, and it was about I think a race of beings from somewhere in the galaxy that he had done research on, that he had tracked all the way back to ancient Sumeria. And he was talking about how they mined gold. They created humans to mine gold for them. And it was about an hour long. And I watched about 45 minutes of it before I watched about 20, 30 minutes of TV before I fell asleep. And, I don't know if that research, had anything to do with it. But when I stood there, I didn't feel any telepathic communication. I just felt like, when it showed me that bright, glowing, what I would call an energy field, it kind of disarmed me. I felt like everything was going to be okay, and it wasn't there to hurt me at that point in time.
Yeah, interesting. And yes, the 12th planet and the Anunnaki and the Nephilim, they spoke of these kind of shape-shifting aliens, these gods per se, but it's hard to tell exactly what you witnessed. But I'm sure there's going to be people that listen to your testimony tonight and go, I saw the exact same thing. So we're inviting people to leave their comments when we put this up on YouTube. Have you seen anything like this, what Scott's explaining to us? I want to hear it. Scott, there's many races out there. Apparently there's more than 94 already right here on planet Earth, but who knows on how many they are out there throughout our vast universe and beyond. But it sounds different from a typical gray alien, if you ask me. Any last words on your experience that other people might want to hear?
Yeah, definitely, Blake. All I could say is, it's changed my life. I'm not sure at this point if it's been for the better or for the worse, but, about a month after that happened, especially in my life personally, things got a lot better for me. Like things that were going down at the time I was unemployed and having trouble paying the rent, but about a month after that encounter, my life seemed to just everything was just going fine. It seems like everything I put my mind to, I succeeded in everything afterwards, and since then I looked at it as it was a good omen. And honestly, Blake, I feel like whatever came to my window that night, it wanted me to see it. It actually, I think it beckoned me to the window that night. It wanted me to come to the window. It wanted to. It knew that where I was. It knew what I was doing, and it knew that I was awake. And when I came to the window, it knew I was there. So it came out of, I guess, the portal, or whatever people want to call it, and it came face to face with me. And it just showed itself to me, and I guess you could say I'm grateful for that.
Well, Scott, we appreciate you coming forward. It takes some guts. I've got your contact information. Maybe we could talk about, I'm not sure if you want to come forward on camera and do your testimony for some kind of special episode that we've been working on recently. Would you mind me keeping in touch with you, and maybe we could work something out?
Absolutely, Blake.
All right, Scott. One last thing. Hey, thanks for serving our country. Appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right, Scott. We will be in touch. And if anybody out there saw what Scott witnessed or what he experienced, wow, we want to hear your comments below and share them with us. And make sure you call into Third Phase of Moon Radio to share. And we've got some incredible new things coming up, some incredible new videos that have just been submitted to us. So stand by for that. Blake Cousins, keep our eyes on the skies, everybody. Guess what? We are not alone.